Well, good morning, patriots and freedom fighters. This is an odd time for the Grizz to be coming at you live, but today we have a very special guest joining us. I'm just going to play a quick video on our next guest as a little intro. Most of you will recognize our next guest. Some of you won't, as I've come to find out.
Have a new hero, I gotta tell you right that. Theo Fleury, is that how you say it?
Theo Fleury.
That was close enough, and I like this kid, I'll tell you.
Messier gets it away, here's Fleury, looking for his first goal of the series. Scores! And Theo Fleury and the Flames are in seventh heaven.
Look at this celebration. Fleury must have watched Tiger Williams score an overtime goal when he was with the Vancouver Canucks. Not only does he finish, but he does a full 360 and then the half pike along the boards.
Theo Fleury scored 51 during the regular season, but it's his first of the playoffs. That's the biggest one of all.
So that was Theo Fleury. I grew up watching hockey and following Theo Fleury basically his whole career. Right from the WHL through his NHL career. A phenomenal player, a little firecracker. He was the smallest guy on the ice on most occasions, but had the most fire. And I think my favorite Theo Fleury moment was probably either that one that we just saw or in the Olympics. But without any further ado, let's bring Theo into the studio. Good morning, Theo.
Good morning, sir.
How are you today?
I'm good. And ironic that you bring the Olympic gold medal up because today is the anniversary of when we won the gold medal in Salt Lake City to the day today. So
wow.
Yeah.
Very cool.
I just saw it on Twitter when I woke up this morning. So
okay. That's
great.
Awesome.
Great memory.
Yeah,
sure.
You betcha.
Yeah.
So Theo, do us a favor for those that, and I have run across them that don't know who Theo Fleury is. Give us an idea of who Theo Fleury is, where you grew up, and how you got to where you are today.
Mm-hmm. Well, the Coles Notes version is was born in Saskatchewan, born in Oxbow, Saskatchewan, and didn't live there very long, and then moved around a little bit, and then finally settled in Russell, Manitoba, which is right on the Manitoba-Saskatchewan border, right on Highway 83 and the Yellowhead Highway, and started playing hockey there and was really good at it at a very young age. I was telling somebody yesterday, I think my first organized season of hockey, I scored 100 goals. So,
wow.
And from a very early young age, I had dreams and aspirations like every kid in Canada to maybe someday get to the NHL, which, I did accomplish that. And played 15 years in the NHL, 1,000 games, 1,000 points, 7 all-star games, and, several different championships I was a part of. And then in 2003, my alcoholism and drug addiction took me out of the game. And in 2009, I wrote an autobiography about my life, explaining why that happened, and disclosed for the very first time publicly my sexual abuse. And so that sort of put me into the field of trauma, mental health, and addiction. And I've been here ever since. Got sober in September 18th, 2005. And now I am an advocate and an activist around the subject of trauma, mental health, and addiction. I'm a political junkie as well. And I've spent this last year basically talking people off the ledge. A lot of people have, I would say the majority of emails I get now are people who are suicidal or having suicidal ideation or severe mental health issues. And, it's a direct result of, what's happening in the world right now.
Well, you have an amazing experience to bring to the table, and you were a valuable asset to the Flames and to hockey for a long time. I think you're a incredibly valuable asset to humanity at this point. And there's a lot of trauma. There's a lot out there that it's starting to come to the fore more than it was when we grew up.
Yeah.
Nobody talked about anything back then.
Yeah, we grew up in the suck it up era. So
absolutely we did.
And this is a direct result of us sucking it up for 40, 50 years of our life, and so
100%.
And the simple fact that we've had more opioid deaths and overdoses and suicides than we've actually had COVID deaths,
right,
is quite alarming. And
you don't hear that on the news every
no, God, no,
right?
No, because that's obviously always been part of the plan. When Bill Gates is doing a TED Talk, basically saying he wants to wipe 6 billion people off the planet. Well, here you go.
But you're just a conspiracy theorist now, Theo.
I could give two fucking shits what people fucking think.
Exactly.
Do your own research and get out from under your rock and realize that this is real and this is happening.
And I want to get into some of that discussion a little bit later, but before we do, so set it up, Theo, your life experience. So you're this phenom hockey player in Russell, Manitoba, and at some point you're courted, I guess, by I'll let you tell the story.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think we have to back up a little bit. Both my parents experienced childhood trauma in their life, and that manifests itself into addictions as a coping mechanism. And so my dad was an alcoholic. My mom was a prescription pill addict. And so, I grew up in a very chaotic, violent, insane house where both my parents' trauma experiences were constantly fighting with each other, day after day after day. And so, that was my first experience with trauma. And, let's face it, my parents just weren't capable of being parents because they were struggling with their own stuff. And so, when I discovered hockey, that was, heaven, because everything that I wasn't getting at home, I walked into a rink and I got love and I got attention, people that cared for me, looked after me, fed me, all of these things, and also instilled some incredible morals, that I hold near and dear to my heart today. And so that really sort of set me up for, what happened next. And, I obviously ran into a pedophile who was in the hockey business. And, because, I am vertically challenged, so to speak, there wasn't a lot of people that were, knocking on my door, giving me an opportunity to climb the ladder or go to the next level. And this particular guy, obviously took a liking to me, and he was a part of the Winnipeg Warriors organization, who are now the Moose Jaw Warriors and been the Moose Jaw Warriors since. And so they drafted me when I was 14. So I was part of the very first bantam draft that was held in the Western Hockey League. And I got picked in the second round by the Winnipeg Warriors. And then the following, that summer, after I got drafted, this particular coach and scout came to my house, sat me and my parents around the kitchen table, and basically said, we think Theo needs better competition, better coaching. We'll put him in a good school. Every day after school, he can practice with the big team. And, my parents knew, obviously, what I wanted to do and what I wanted to be. And so they didn't hold me back. And so I moved to Winnipeg. And needless to say, that choice and that decision would change me for the rest of my life, because over the next 2.5 years, this particular coach and scout raped me 150 times over a 2.5 year period. And, obviously I was left with a lot of shame, a lot of guilt, a lot of anger, a lot of resentment. And, there wasn't one person in the world I could have told what was going on.
Yeah.
Because I knew, first and foremost, that I wouldn't be believed. And then secondly, my hockey career would be over. And so I kept the secret inside for, I guess 27 years.
So were there other players, sorry to interrupt, but were there other players at that time going through the same shit that you were?
Yeah. There's been people traced back to the early 70s with this particular guy. And so,
and I noticed I noticed in interviews you don't mention his name.
No, he is the poster boy for pedophiles, right? And so when Amazon is selling books on their website called "How to Be a Pedophile," I don't think his name needs to be mentioned. I think that, and there are some conspiracy theorists out there who believe that the elites have been trafficking kids since the beginning of time, and so it's hard to believe that the most lucrative business on the planet is not Amazon. It is child and human trafficking. It's $150 billion industry, and it makes $70 billion more than the most successful company. Legitimate successful company called Amazon. And so
and we can't talk about it.
Well, I talk about it every day, so
of course but we're not supposed to, because that's conspiracy theory.
And so that set me on a path of addiction as a coping mechanism, from the emotional pain and scars that were left behind from that experience. And and it sort of, led me down a path of self-destruction and all those things. And then, like I said, I got sober September 18, 2005, and that really sort of put me on a different path. And it led me right to where I am today, where, I'm a very powerful voice in this space. And, like I said, the real epidemic here is trauma, mental health, and addiction. COVID is the most traumatic thing that's happened since World War II. And, obviously we are seeing the effects that, isolation and, we can't, can't embrace each other. We can't shake hands. We can't look people in the eye. Connection is the antidote to addiction, right? And so
these measures are driving everyone into a different way of trying to cope. Absolutely.
Well, because fear keeps us all in place, and they know that we're all even before COVID, the epidemic of mental illness and addiction issues was already there, and so this has just added another layer to everybody's psyche, and they know it. right? They know it, and they are using it. And I've said this on many programs, but this ideology that they're selling right now has been tried 24 times in the history of our planet. 24 times they've tried to bring this ideology in, and guess what happened? Failed every time.
And millions died.
And 100 million people have died, right? And so these people are sick. These people are demented, and they need to be stopped.
So I think part of the problem, Theo, in all of this is that there's so many people that don't believe in reality, that don't believe that this can happen. I think people like yourself and myself, based on my experiences, our life experience have taught us that evil does exist, and it is at the highest levels of government and above.
Yeah, it's Cain killed Abel in the Bible. There's your first traumatic experience, and it's just obviously snowballed since. And so it's amazing when you take God out of the equation, how much chaos and violence and craziness happens. And so they're attacking Christians,
Yep, 100%.
Every day, everywhere,
They're locking our pastors up.
It's like, if you can't see it, like, God have mercy. God have mercy on your soul, and you're in for a very, very, very rude awakening here.
Well, I think a lot of it, Theo, is they don't want to see it, right?
Or they're incapable, right? Or they're incapable of, especially a liberal, right? Absolutely, have no ability for self-reflection. They have no ability for self-reflection. It's blame. It's please save me, look after me. And that's not the way I grew up. I grew up in a farming community where people got up at 6 o'clock in the morning, worked till 10 o'clock at night. They were all successful. They lived in nice houses, drove nice cars, went on great vacations, went to church every Sunday, gave to charity, those kind of things. And that is totally being taken out of us.
So you've brought God back into your life. What were you brought up in a religious family? Was your family religious? Did you go to church?
Yeah. So on Sundays, I was an altar boy in the Catholic Church.
Me too.
And on Thursday nights, I went to my mom's Jehovah Witness Bible study. So complete religious mind fuck of all mind fucks. And so when I was trying to get sober, they were talking about spirituality in 12-step, and I had no concept because I don't really subscribe to the white bearded guy in the sky. I don't get that concept. But what I do get the concept of is relationship, and I really believe that is what spirituality is all about.
Spirituality,
and the relationship I have with myself first. And if I have a great relationship with myself, all my other relationships will be exactly the same. If, I like myself, I love myself, I take care of myself. Because after the abuse stopped, I took over the abuse and I abused myself because I didn't think that I deserved anything better. And so when I had, that spiritual awakening and sort of surrendered and turn my will and my life over to the care of the universe as I understand it. That's been really the turning point in my life is
what got you to that point?
Well, I knew I was going to die. Right. And I didn't want to die. And I knew that I was better than what I was showing in the world at that time. And so, I knew I had to make some significant changes in my life, and it started with one day at a time, and that one day at a time is now at. Let me just pull up my little app I have, because I don't talk about my sobriety in years. I talk about it in days. So today I have 5,637 days of continuous sobriety. And so, I started with 1 day, and 1 day became 2, and 2 became 3. And then all of a sudden, I have 5,600 odd days of sobriety. And what's happened is, I think a lot more clearly. I'm a very bright, brilliant, smart dude. I'm not just some fucking dumb jock who played hockey. I'm a critical thinker. Obviously, those of us who have been abused, we have this hyper awareness sort of built into us because of our experience. And so, I can walk into a room and in a millisecond know who all the bad people are and know all the good people are in a millisecond, right?
You would have made a great prison guard.
Well, I do work in the prison system,
Right.
And so, it's just, I feel really sad where we're at, and I hang out with medicine men, and I hang out with spiritual leaders and teachers in the Indigenous community, and they always tell me, the world has way more abundance than we could even tap into,
Right.
and it's really sad that we are not using our full potential as human beings, but obviously the common theme here is trauma, right? Trauma is the string which binds us all together as human beings. And so, and every single issue that we have in society starts with trauma, right? And until we heal the trauma piece, this is what's going to happen. We're going to get these leaders who are absolutely incapable of being leaders, because I played for some of the greatest leaders in my sport. And, they all had one common sort of characteristic. They were humble, they were kind, they made everybody feel a part of what was happening. There was never any dividing,
Right.
I think we have the worst leadership in the history of our planet at every level. And this is a direct result of that kind of leadership, because the worst addiction you can have is what? The addiction to power.
Yeah.
Right? It's the worst addiction. It is the worst addiction, and nobody ever talks about it from a psychological standpoint. That these people are, they have their own trauma experience. So I have some compassion for guys like Trudeau, but ultimately, you should not be in any position of leadership, and it's blatantly obvious when you watch him and you see him, on TV, that left to his own defenses, he's a complete fucking idiot.
Yep.
Like he can't even function.
Right.
And, he's the leader of so it's sad, it's
So
sad.
why do you think the masses, why do you think the population accepts it and votes for this?
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know.
Well,
if you watch mainstream media, Trudeau's a god. He is. He comes from a linearship of, the Canadian elite, so to speak. And so, but if you just do your own research and find out, what's really going on, what's happening, what they're covering up, and what's what's really out there, it's mind blowing. Like, it's mind blowing.
It is. I've been at this game for probably 18 years, studying, basically after 9/11, a few years after 9/11, I got into it, and all roads led to globalism, the globalist agenda. And so I've been at it for a long time. And I'm very thankful that now there's people like you that, have a name recognition and respect from a lot of people, and that you're lending your voice to this.
No. I'm crazy.
Yeah, right.
That's the general consensus, is that I'm crazy because, I had the balls to tell my story about, what happened to me. And
so you think the prevailing
now they think I've completely gone off the deep end,
is that right?
Which is hilarious. Yeah. So, I've been shut out by, by the NHL, I had an interview for Sirius XM radio, and they on the NHL network, and they told me there's no way we can have you a part of our program because you're crazy, and your Twitter and all that. And I was just like, good luck with that, man.
Unreal.
Yeah. So I'm the crazy one. I'm the crazy one.
I'm glad that you're part of it, because
I'm the crazy one because I actually use my brain the way it's supposed to be used.
Yep.
Right.
100%.
And you know what? I've done quite well thinking on my own without any kind of influence from government. And the last person on the world that I would absolutely take advice from would be, Trudeau or a liberal,
or the media.
This is complete insanity, and it's planned. It's been orchestrated, and it's now being played out in real time. And if you can't see it, then, like I said, God have mercy on your soul. And
So you played. I wanted to ask you this for a long time, ever since you sort of came out with your experience. When I watched you played with a fire right back into WHL, and it was more prevalent than anybody else on the ice. Do you attribute that fire to your experiences? Is that where that fire, a lot of it came from?
Yeah, I went to the best anger management class I could possibly find. It's called the NHL. Right? I could go out and, beat the shit out of somebody or stick them or whatever, go sit in the box for 5 minutes, and there was no police there with handcuffs charging me with assault,
Right.
So but eventually, for me, the anger saved my life. But now that I've been sober for 15 years, I don't need that anymore.
That's where I was going to lead here.
And so, I've become a way more compassionate, empathetic person who, I make myself available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for people who are struggling with, whatever traumatic experience they've had. And, it's obviously, it's the greatest work of my life. And I feel very blessed that, my second career is way more important than my first career. And, I always say that
millions.
And I would always, I would say, that I would trade, my World Junior Stanley Cup gold medal. I would trade all that to save somebody's life. And so that has happened, numerous times over the last, 15 years. And so, I feel, completely misunderstood, when people sort of make, stupid comments. I say, next time you see me walking down the street, please come and introduce yourself, because I think you'll get a completely different perspective of who Theo Fleury is, and the many layers that are to me. And ultimately, I want what everybody else wants, and I want freedom, right? I like freedom. The 2 World Junior tournaments I played in, I played them in communist countries. And, when COVID first hit, and, I was standing in line at the Home Depot to get into the Home Depot, I said to my wife, I was like, I've seen this before.
Right.
This is what I saw when I was 18, 19 years old, representing my country when we went to Czechoslovakia and Moscow. Was people lining up to buy goods and services. And I'm like, what the hell is this? This is
I mean, you talk to people who have immigrated to Canada from some of these communist countries, and they're some of the loudest railing against this. It's like, come on, people, wake the hell up, because we've seen this before, and that's why we came here, to get away from it. You know?
Yeah. And why is there, a lineup at the southern border of the United States? People want to get in. People want freedom. People want freedom of choice, freedom of their own decisions, and the ability to work. All of that. And so that's all I know. I know how to work. That's it. That's my greatest asset that was instilled in me living in Western Canada, was work ethic. And
work ethic and self-reliance, self-determination, all of these values that we cherish, all of them are under attack.
Yeah. And the left hate us because we want to work. How stupid is that? But I've come up with a new word for liberalism. It's called stupidism. And it's being played out in real time.
Yeah.
That there is no critical thinking. There is nothing. It's just, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. But that's, I don't mean to laugh, but it's that stupid that you just got to laugh. It's like Forrest Gump. Stupid is as stupid does.
But this is a bit of our disadvantage, is being this type of person that we are: self-reliance, self-determination, individual freedom, in the movement to sort of protect and regain our freedoms. It's hard for us to unite, whereas the left, they can unite because they all group think, and it turns into a mob, and they all move together in that mob. Yeah. And so for us, when we have to recognize that we're not going to unite as a mob, because we're all individuals, we're all free thinkers, we're all critical thinkers. Yeah. As long as we're all going in the same direction, I think it's important that we recognize that we're different. We're not going to be the left. We're not going to be collectivists. We're a whole bunch of individuals that are fighting for the same thing.
Yeah. Well, I think it's time that we, sort of maybe lose a little bit of that mentality and really come together. I think it's important. But we're getting hit at every angle,
from all angles.
The funniest thing is Trudeau gets caught wearing blackface 4 times and then calls me a racist.
Right.
How hilarious is that?
Yeah.
Or he's out there groping women, and there's a little girl out there that's been silenced for many years because of his actions, and it's my fault.
Right. Yeah.
Like,
that's how it works.
Just think about it.
Yeah.
How ridiculous that is. Yep. So, but I really believe that there's a lot of conservatives who are really scared, right? Who are afraid. And so, I've been to hell and back 15 times. Right. So
you're prepared to go again.
I'm not afraid of anything. So,
yeah. And that's the attitude that a lot of us have to take and have taken, and are really, I think, Theo, the voice for a lot of those conservatives you mentioned that are afraid. I get messages, and I talk to people all the time that thank me for what I'm doing, but I can't do this because of my job. I can't do this because of my position in the community.
Well, eventually your job's not going to be there.
Well, exactly.
It's not going to be there.
That's
it's like all these athletes out there.
Yep.
Do you honestly believe that there's going to be any professional sports whatsoever once these guys are finished?
Yep.
Not a chance. Are you going to be able to afford to go to a Blades game if all this is carried out? Not a fucking chance.
Yep.
You're going to be able to go to an NHL hockey game? Not a chance. Nobody's going to be a fit. How do you think they're going to run these buildings? Calgary's building a new, what is it, $560 million facility.
Yeah.
It's not gonna. Yeah.
For who?
Yeah. Exactly. So there's no more concerts. Like that's not gonna have music is finished.
And you don't see any artists standing up opposing any of it.
No.
They're there promoting the man's word. It's just it's phenomenal. From a 10,000 feet view, Theo, it's fascinating to watch, but on the ground, it's horrifying.
Mm-hmm.
It really is.
Well, I see it every day. That they're very calculated in what they're doing, right? They're following an agenda, right? And those of you out there who might be listening to this, if you think that things are going to go back to normal, they're not. They're absolutely not. It's not going to happen, and this has been systematically planned for a long time. And
how do we defeat it, Theo?
Well, we all have to have a collective voice, right? And when they call you racist, don't believe it. When they call you, but that's that's their thing. The three things that I get on Twitter is, first of all, they insult me. Then secondly, they call me a racist. It's right out of the playbook. And I'm like, we are in a sad state of affairs, and it doesn't look promising. When they can steal an election, do you honestly think that they're not going to steal the election in Canada?
I think they have.
Come on. It's just, they're going to do it again. And they've done it worldwide. Every, you look at Venezuela, right? Perfect example.
Yep.
I think question every liberal win across the world, right? And mail-in voting is fraud. It's like, yeah. And good luck arguing with a liberal that that's not the case, right? But it's got to come to a head at some point. It's got to come to a head at some point. But you know what happens? You know what happens with the left? They all end up eating each other.
Well, they do inevitably.
But unfortunately, it takes 10 years for them to accomplish that, where they all eat each other because they got to have power, right?
But here's the thing. Hear me out for a second, Theo. So this whole left-right paradigm dichotomy that they stick us in, and they love to have us divided by. Yeah. So these leftists that we always refer to, I think that's a small group of people. The people that will eventually eat themselves. I think that's a small group of people. There's this huge mushy middle in Canada that don't really pay attention. And they just sort of follow the rest of the mob to the voting.
Well, they watch CBC, CTV, and Global.
Right.
Those are those people.
Yeah.
Right.
So for me, getting busting through the media narrative to me is priority number one. And we have to figure out creative ways to bust through that and get the message to the masses that is contrary, obviously, to what they're hearing. And I mean, that is just so incredibly important. So I use every platform that's offered to me to do that. And I create platforms to do that. Mm-hmm. Do you see politics in your future, Theo?
No.
Not at all?
No.
You don't see that as an effective platform for you?
No.
No?
Mm-mm. No.
So what's your plan?
It's corrupt. It's corrupt. And anybody who has any kind of good intention, goes there with good intentions and comes out corrupt. Right? I don't want to be part of that.
So you don't think you could go in and not be corrupted?
Nope.
And blow it up?
It's that bad.
You go in and blow it up?
I've tried. I've been in, I've been in there. I've never been around a more stupid group of people in all of my life. I swear to God. I swear to God.
Couldn't agree more. Yeah.
I swear to God. I've
They're incredibly
never
stupid.
been
You're right.
around that many stupid people in all of my life.
Right.
It's unbelievable. It is unbelievable how these people get into politics.
Theo, we're talking about a whole collective of people that have absolutely no idea, for example, what Agenda 2030 is. None. They have no idea. They literally don't know what I'm talking about when I ask them.
Because it's been branded conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
Right? And so as soon as that happens, those people aren't gonna read it. And if they do read it, it's so far out there. Like it's so far out there. Like it's like what we watch on TV, a movie, right?
Right.
You know, like this Klaus von whatever the fuck he calls himself looks like Dr. Evil from fucking Austin Powers.
Straight out of Central Casting.
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
I mean, there's actually a part of me that thinks he was that he's a red shiny herring for everybody to look at while they bring in sustainable development from behind. I really, there's a part of me that thinks that because of how crazy it is to have Klaus Schwab as your face for the New World Order. It's just, it's phenomenal. It really is. It's amazing. I mean, the guy writes a book, COVID-19 and the Great Reset. And when I make the connection to the two, again, I'm a right-wing nut job and a conspiracy theorist. It's not my book. I didn't write it. He did.
Well, what's the old saying? You can't fix stupid.
Stupid. Yeah.
Right?
Wow.
Unfortunately, and hey, I have a lot of compassion for stupid because I know once you're there, like there's no other alternative. Right. Like there's no up for you.
Yeah, but I think a lot of it, I mean, there's a lot of stupid, and our leaders are stupid. Well, we don't have any leaders. But there's a lot of people that are just ignorant, and they're not stupid. They're just ignorant, and they're willfully ignorant in a lot of cases. But you know, they're smart people. They just don't want to know. They're in their bubble, and they want to stay in their bubble. And if that bubble's going to be burst, whether it's from the information I give them,
so you say, what do we need to do? Those people need to get out of their bubble and use their voice, right?
Absolutely.
You know, God helps those who help themselves, right? And you know, I'm a perfect example of that because I wasn't doing a very good job of helping myself early on in my life, and then I switched back to faith-based beliefs, you know, lived a life of prayer and meditation, and you know, what do they talk about, the 5D? You know, I'm trying to get the 5D. Right. You know, get out of the 2D thinking, you know, and get to a higher level of you know, whatever it is, you know. But ultimately, I believe that God wins. I believe that. And you know, there's a plan for my life. There has always been a plan for my life. And the only time the plan went sideways was when I took over and was running my own life. And so, but it's hard. It's hard to have faith right now. It's really hard to have faith. It's really hard to you know, understand. But I think that's God just challenging us, you know, even more, right? To embrace faith and to believe that you know, because this isn't about left and right anymore. This is good versus evil. This is good versus evil.
Absolutely.
You know, the story, you know, the story, every Hollywood movie has the good versus evil in it. Right. And, you know, most times good wins, or I would say the majority of movies, good wins. And so hopefully that's the case in this scenario.
Yeah.
Right.
So what are you doing now, Theo? What's your plans? What's Theo Fleury's life look like moving forward? Outside of all of this.
Yeah. Well, so I'm writing my third book right now.
Mm.
I'm still speaking online, doing virtual speaking engagements. What else? I have a sobriety coaching business as well. So I have, I don't know, 6 clients right now that I'm helping through sobriety.
Mm.
What else? I have an online course called Trauma Transformation,
Mm.
where we meet once a month online, help people understand their trauma and turn their trauma from negative into a positive experience. I work for a couple of companies. One's a medical virtual reality company out of Humboldt, Saskatchewan, of all places. We have a technology called binaural beats, which is sort of the next level of meditation. And we basically what it does is it recalibrates the nervous system and recalibrates the brain, wakes up old neural pathways by the use of sound. It's amazing. It's amazing technology.
Yeah.
And then I work for another company called Ibogaine, Universal Ibogaine, and it's a root that comes from Africa that completely bypasses the withdrawal from opioid addiction. So I'm busy, I'm busy. I'm trying to stay busy. Thank God I can do the majority of it from, my phone or computer right now. But
so is there a website that people can go to?
Yeah, just go to theofleury.life to see what we do. I'm also on all social media platforms. So Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Parler, Telegram, I'm on everything.
On them all. Yeah.
On them all. And, just what I'm doing is I'm actually getting ready for when, because eventually they can't keep us locked up forever. Right.
No.
So I'm, really preparing myself for the aftermath of COVID, because the impact that COVID has had and will have further down the road with mental health challenges is going to be, significant. And and so I'm obviously getting ready to, get out there and try to help as much as I can. People say, well, if I was to ask you what your job is, I collect people. That's what I do. I collect people. That's my job. Is I collect people who have the same story, same history as me, and I take them from victim to advocate. Because the more advocates we create, the louder our voice will get, and the louder our voice gets, then change, will happen. When you think about that, there are 10 million survivors in Canada of sexual abuse. That puts it in perspective. And, if we all voted, if all 10 million people who had experienced sexual abuse voted, we'd be in power for, forever. Right. So, when I went, I walked from Toronto to Ottawa, 2010 to raise awareness around the subject of childhood sexual abuse and childhood rape and all that stuff. And we arrived on the front steps of Parliament, and then we went in because I got invited in to, do a speech in front of all the MPs. And the only thing they were interested in was, can I please have a picture with you for my Twitter, and I was just like, you guys are fucking ridiculous. I'm not here as a celebrity, You know, that Olympic gold medal happened 8 years ago. You know, so actually, Peter MacKay and I almost came to blows in the Parliament.
Somehow that doesn't surprise me.
You know, because you know, and the interesting thing is, you know, there is no justice system in Canada.
Right.
It's a legal system, right? Set up so the lawyers and the judges and everybody gets rich, right?
Yep.
Because I've sat in, you know, courtrooms, you know, supporting sexual abuse victims, and you know, the defense lawyers, the shit that they get away with, you know, is like it made me sick. Like I wanted to throw up, really. You know, that sexual abuse victims aren't believed, you know, the majority of the time, right? And it's theater. What it is, it's theater, right? You know, and you know, it's sad. It's sad to, and so, you know, when all this child and human trafficking stuff came out, I was like, yep, it's the truth. It's the truth. You know, it's the truth. You know, when I watched that documentary Out of the Shadows, I was like, wow, this is unbelievable, right? You know, then I watched the whole series on the Cabal as well, you know, watching all that stuff, and you know, and people are like, you know, I'd send them this documentary and they're like, wow, that's all bullshit. I'm like, somebody would spend what, you know, 4 or 5 years researching all this stuff to put this out there because it's false.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
well, I mean, you look at even Corey Feldman coming out of Hollywood.
Oh yeah.
Completely vilified, right? Like destroyed because he wanted to tell his story and tell the truth.
I partied with Corey Feldman in LA a few times.
Right.
I thought I was messed up. You know?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's yeah, I just wish people would wake up, you know.
Yeah.
It's you know, fear, you know, from, you know, psychological standpoint, fear is the reason why we're all sort of in this state, right? You know, they say you think about the past, that's depression. If you think about the future, that's anxiety. And so what we're living in is, you know, high anxiety, you know. You know, I've had numerous panic attacks over the last year, you know, and I'm a guy who spent $1 million on therapy. I'm a guy that's done 10,000 hours of therapy, and I still, you know, struggle with, but you know, the win for me is it doesn't last days, it lasts minutes, you know. To me, that's a win, right? You know, that's a win. And, you know, if you look at my experience, yeah, of course, my nervous system is going to be completely fucked up with, you know, with what I've been through. And, you know, and then, you know, you just add another layer, which is COVID, on top of all the stuff I've already experienced. Right. And, you know, I've had to make a real conscious effort to turn off the TV. You know, I basically, I just watch movies now. That's it. You know, I don't pay attention to mainstream media. You know, I follow pretty much all the patriots on the planet to get my information. And yeah, just when people reach out, you know, I respond within 5 minutes because I know the importance of connection, right? You know, and the world is very, very disconnected right now, and it's planned, right?
By design. Yeah,
it's by design, and that's, you know, that's the other side's biggest fear is they don't want us to come together.
No, they're terrified. They're terrified of that.
Yeah. So that's, you know, that's their kryptonite is, you know, you and I having a conversation like this.
Yep.
You know, but
And we'll continue to do it. And I really appreciate you taking the time and joining us today, Theo. I'd like to have you back, maybe in a month or two, and see where we're at in the world, and see what perspective we can come up with. But I appreciate you taking the time, and your message is incredibly important, and a message of support, because there's so many people out there that have experienced what you've experienced.
Yep.
And you're their voice in a lot of times, in a lot of cases, and it's
perfect thing you can do is just go on your Facebook, look up trauma transformation, join our group. We post lots of really awesome stuff every day, and like I said, once a month we do a live group session, where we talk about trauma, we talk about mental wellness, and we talk about overcoming addiction, and it's that is the biggest epidemic on the planet. It's not COVID. It's trauma, it's mental health, and it's addiction, right? And we're seeing it every day. And so join our group, or send me a private message. If you need somebody to talk to, I'm available. And I have a vast amount of resources, lots of resources, that I can direct you in the right direction, when it comes to dealing with, mental health challenges, because I live it every day, right? I live with depression. I live with anxiety. I live with panic disorder, all that stuff. And so, I've been able to sort of rebuild some semblance to, I do experience peace, joy, happiness, and serenity sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes. And, to go from not experiencing that to having moments is, to me, that's a win, right? It's
Absolutely.
a win.
100%.
And, I'm in therapy for the rest of my life, and I'm completely okay with that. There is no magic pill.
There's no silver bullet.
Because I've tried them all. They don't work, right? And there's another thing, big pharma owns every single disease on the planet, and we need a vaccine for a virus that has a 99.9% survival rate. Just that statement alone. Think about that statement alone.
Right.
So, we got a guy with Asperger's telling us, how he's gonna, we're gonna start eating synthetic meat. Come on.
Right. We're gonna print our meat. Yeah. Well, you couldn't make a movie because nobody would go watch it because it's too insane. Right.
Well, we're living it. We're living in the movie.
Yeah.
Produced by global elite.
We are.
Right? We're in a movie.
But I still believe we'll win. I don't know when it's going to be, but there's going to be a lot of pain before that, but we will win.
Yeah. I feel sorry for that guy that comes to try to drag me out of my house, I'll tell you.
Yeah. Me too.
Pack a lunch.
Absolutely.
Because I ain't afraid to die.
Yep.
So.
Yep. Your sentiments are shared by many. Trust me.
Well, I my last professional season of hockey, I played in Belfast for the Belfast Giants, and there was a team in Scotland called Edinburgh, and so we played a weekend series, and then I stayed in Edinburgh because I wanted to do some touring around. I went to St. Andrews, walked St. Andrews golf course, but the most unbelievable thing is I went to the William Wallace Monument.
Yeah.
And stood on top of the of the William Wallace Monument and stared down at the battlefield where Braveheart was fighting for freedom, and it was so inspirational and so unbelievable. I'm a Métis guy too, and I'm very familiar with the story of Louis Riel, who's one of my absolute idols and person that I've always, looked up to, and he wasn't afraid of anything.
Right.
He was he was a brilliant, smart guy, and so I draw a lot of inspiration, especially now, from those type of characters, in our history, that they did they did perish, but the legacy that they left behind was freedom.
Well, and this is our time, Theo.
Yeah. Yep.
We're in it. And
Yep.
what a time to be alive,
Mhm.
right? To be in the
Yep.
position to defend freedom. And I don't want to say that in any hyperbole. It's exactly where we are.
Yeah.
And what a time to be alive.
Yeah. Freedom or tyranny. You
That's
choose.
it.
You
That's it.
choose. Yeah. You
Yep.
choose. And so thank you for asking me to, I love talking about this stuff,
I'd like to bring you on again, and we'll have maybe a more political discussion.
You know how this all started was Trump comes down the escalator, and I'm like, what the fuck is Trump doing going down the escalator? You know what I mean? And I was like, geez, I better pay attention to this. And so that's when I got into, politics. It was when he came down the escalator, because I was like, I've met Trump. I played in New York. I met him.
Right.
Great guy.
Yep.
He's a great guy. I think he gets a completely bad rap.
Of course he does.
But the times that I met him, he was very kind, and he was very engaged. He was very present. Obviously he loves tough guys, so he really liked me and liked the way that I played and all that stuff. And so, it's been an interesting ride to, watch. I started watching CNN of all things, and I was like, something just isn't right here, And then I switched over to Fox, and then Fox put their B team out for the election, and I was like, oh my God, this is unbelievable, So,
well, it's so obvious. It's so obvious if you're paying the least bit of attention.
Yeah. And that's what people don't, people, think that I'm just some dumb jock who used to play hockey, but
what we say does sound crazy, because it is crazy.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Right.
Yep. Well, I'm crazy, so
right.
Well, that's what I always tell
a lot of us that are just as crazy as you, if not crazier.
Yeah,
so it's all good.
I say I'm still crazy. It's just way more manageable.
Yeah. Right.
So, and it's my craziness that makes me unique and individual. Right. Yep. It's what our experiences are. Right.
100%.
And
thanks, my man. We'll have you on again, and we'll chat politics next time.
All right, Grizzly. Keep up the good work, and keep getting those tickets.
Yeah, they're piling up. It's what I do. All right.
Are they pre-written now?
Well, they're not even. There's not even a amount. It's just a summons. Yeah. At some point, some judge is going to determine, I guess, what the amount is. They're never going to make it to court.
Yeah,
of course not. It's all just theater.
It's all a show, man.
Yep, absolutely.
And what do these guys say to you? Like, what do the cops say? Like, when you say, like,
just doing my job, man.
Doing your job, which is what?
They're just doing what they're told. Here, I'll show you. I'll show you what they say. Here, give me a second. Because I happen to record the one.
Well, I've watched it. I've watched all your stuff. So
did you watch it? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, it's there. We'll let everybody have a look at this one. Hang on. Just put it up on the screen.
That's fine. I was a peace officer. My oath was very respectful of the Constitution and Charter. I don't. If I was in your position, and I'm not judging you, I'm saying I'd like you to respect it. Because if I was in that position, I don't think I could do that. Because these particular laws that you're being asked to enforce, they haven't proven they're limiting our rights. By some. That's because that's in the Constitution and Charter of Security. They haven't proven demonstrably that those measures are appropriate. So, if I'm a peace officer and I was sworn to uphold the charter, I probably wouldn't do this.
Is that a cop filming you?
So I'm just curious your perspective. I do work for what?
No.
Okay.
Issue that ticket, and that's what I do.
Where are all the lawyers?
Well, you know what?
My job versus my personal opinion.
That's the other frustrating thing, Theo, is I'm trying to find a lawyer, any lawyer, any lawyer house to represent a case just against the PCR test alone.
Right.
And I can't find one, because the lawyer houses that are in support or on the right and support, sort of look at things the way we do, they all are in bed with the SAS party, and that's using government. So they don't want to touch it. And then, of course, the other law houses are, maybe lefties or commies or whatever they are. I can't find one.
So is it because there's so much tax money in litigation that they just can't afford to step out of that space?
I think it's mostly political. I think they don't want to. Nobody wants to take on the government. Now, if we had maybe the NDP in government provincially, I could probably find some lawyers and law houses that would take it on simply because it's their job to take on the government. But in the scenario we're in now, nobody wants to, because on all sides of the aisle, they love this, right?
Yeah.
So
big government,
right,
yeah,
right. So it's extremely frustrating. Now, of course, there's the JCCF out of Calgary. They're doing phenomenal work, and there's Rocco Galati.
Mm-hmm. Well, I saw something this morning that in Germany they've got that big group,
Royer Filmuk,
that's going after the all this, so-called laws. They're not laws.
Yeah, Reimer Filmich, I think is his name. Yeah. Looking forward to seeing some of that come through. Dolores Cahill's doing some good work. She's going to be filing some lawsuits after she sequences all of the positive tests and show that none of them are.
Right.
Yeah. So there's some big things happening that we're hopeful with, but I mean, I'd love to take it on locally. I think it has to be taken on locally too, and at least provincially. But find a lawyer.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah. All right, bud. I got to jump on another podcast here, but I appreciate the opportunity. Thanks for asking me. Keep up the good work, and know that I got your back.
You too, my friend.
All right,
we'll
buddy.
talk again. Thanks, man.
Take care of yourself. Thanks.
Bye. All right, so that was Theo. Fantastic guest. Fantastic. Fantastic human. And he's been through the ringer, and it's good to see him taking up arms. Essentially, it's what we're doing. We're in the fight of our lives. We're in the fight for freedom, and he's in it. And I couldn't imagine a better guy to be in the fight with. He's been a fighter his whole life. So we'll have him on again. We're gonna have some more discussions about politics in the coming days for sure. So yeah. Thanks to all you folks for joining us and sharing it out. Thomas Hummer says, I mentioned the JCCF to Sean Taylor after we met a week ago Monday. His case is directly in their wheelhouse. Yeah, I'm actually I'm going to recommend that. The JCCF is so busy right now. That's the only thing. But yeah, I'll definitely. I've talked to Sean in regards to that, and I'll talk to him about it again. Hey, Jody, good to see you, buddy. Yeah, you're welcome, Joanne. So yeah, I'm going to cut this one off here now because I want to basically just keep it about Theo. So once it's done, share it. As you've probably, some of you noticed, maybe I'm on YouTube on my backup channel. It's the same name as my other channel. Canada First with the Grizzly Patriot. So share it from there. I will upload it to my regular YouTube channel as soon as I'm out of YouTube jail, which will be in 6 days. So yeah, and if you're on Facebook, share it out. Get his message heard. He's a prominent voice, and I know he gets a lot of heat and gets referred to as crazy by, the mob, but there are thousands upon thousands that respect Theo Fleury. And so it's important. His voice is important, and I'm glad that he's on our side. We're fighters on this side. The other side doesn't have any fighters. They just have sheep. All the fighters, all the warriors are on this side of the fence. So that's a good thing. And we will win, because they will push us to a point where all of our warriors are going to have to step up, and they will. Anyways, guys, thanks for joining, and have a good day. Stay tuned tomorrow night. I have Joseph McRae on the show, and he's going to talk about the experience they've had with healthcare in Saskatchewan and how his son has been refused literally life-saving treatment because of COVID. So stay tuned for that. That'll be tomorrow night. I may go live tonight. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how the day goes. Yes, Joseph, good to see you in the chat, and I look forward to that as well. That'll be tomorrow night at 7 p.m. local, 8 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Alberta, 5 o'clock BC. All right, folks, you guys have a good day, and we'll see you next time. And remember, globalism, bad. Nationalism, good. Ciao for now.